found an oil leak on the motor down here. Have a look down here, see a bit of oil trickling down, a bit of oil there. Now I thought it was the valve cover gasket which I replaced, but it seems to be leaking. It's not a massive leak, it's just a bit of a trickle, but it annoys me, so I want to get it fixed. Had a bit of a search around, and it looks like I have a crack in the valve cover. Today I'm going to replace the valve cover. Apparently it's fairly common, not common, but I spoke to the blokes in the local dealer, and they had never heard of it, but I jumped on the good old tube, and apparently it is a thing that they do here's a bit of a record of the history of them cracking, so today I'm going to replace it. So anyway, open it up. Telltale sign with this particular oil leak is have oil pooling up down the back, which is the bottom of the head. You can sort of see the oil pooling there. To do this, what we'll call a minor repair, is you'll need a 8mm socket, ratchet, a bit of an extension, flat blade screwdriver, and a pair of pliers just to take off this clip, and some anti-seize for the bolts, and maybe a little bit of oil to top up just in case you've lost a bit, if you haven't caught it early enough or you've just let it go or whatever. Not that it really matters, but some anti-seize from the bolts, not antifreeze, anti-seize from the bolts, and that'll stop them from getting seized in the aluminium head. Oh yeah, a bit of oil. Yeah, you need a little bit of lubricant to get some stuff on, maybe around the gaskets and around the O-rings. Pretty easy job though, anybody can do it. What'd you find? Bird. So just taking off this clip for this, looks like it must be the venting for the crankcase. Undo that clip. It's kind of a weird, yeah, just unclips, and when you finish you pop it back on. Get everything disconnected from the valve cover. So now we can just go through and remove all the bolts, and there's heaps of them. All the way around there, and then all up the middle. So go through and remove all that. I think I'll go fast tool for that, I think. I'm going to do it the slack tradie way. Apparently this wasn't around when I was a tradie. So this apparently is what the common tool is these days for pulling engines apart. So I wouldn't recommend using this to, torque bolts in, but I think for taking them off it's all right. Okay, so now we've removed all the bolts. That's pretty straightforward. Like I said, we've been out, what, not even 10 minutes so far? And then the valve cover should, got one to go. Yeah, always one to go. One that I didn't half loosen before. Then simply pull the valve cover off. Like that. Yeah, I don't know whether you're even going to be able to see where the crack is, but it's this side somewhere. Look at a rag. Can't even see it. Yeah, it's definitely cracked in there somewhere. You can sort of see it there. To make it easy, so you know what you're looking for when you're looking for a crack in one of these things. Very hard to find because you can't even see it. Like, it's hairline crack. I'll just emphasise the crack here with just putting a bit of pressure on it. See, just that area there, put a bit of pressure on that. You should see the crack start to open up when I do that. I don't know whether you can see that, but it's hairline crack, and it's in there, right in that corner. Probably a bit further because I don't care if I break it. You can sort of see it now pretty clearly. You see that now? So now we've got that off. Let's drop that here. Need to save the sensor for that. The sensor. Save that goes onto the new rocker cover or valve cover. What else do we need to save? Probably this, the filler cap. And then also these 3 clips. But what I'll do, we'll get the new valve cover, put it next to it, and we can transfer everything onto the new one. There it is. Genuine Mercury part. We had to wait for this to come from the States. No, it was pretty good. It was actually coming early. Actually got here earlier than we anticipated. It was supposed to take 5 weeks. Well, might have come in 3 or something, so it was pretty good. I think they were on back order. So they were kind of coming in. Here it is. Shiny new one. Let's have a quick look, make sure it's the same. Make sure it's the same as the one that we're replacing. Looks very similar. Kind of have a feeling this might have been replaced before, because the genuine out of the factory ones have a serial number on them and a label, a sticker, but that doesn't have anything on it. So it may have been replaced in the past. I don't know. This thing's done 1,100 hours, so it's not a lot, but you know, it's not exactly a new engine, but it's 2006 model, so it's fairly old, or oldish, but I guess it hasn't done a lot of hours for its age. It goes into the middle, to the one in the middle. There. Actually, I think they're all the same, so it doesn't matter. I think these are all the same, so they're just the clips for the harness. Go into there. Pop that sensor back in. Pop this, I'm guessing it must be a temperature sensor or something. Some sort of sensor, so we'll pop the sensor in. Goes into here. Actually, probably wouldn't hurt on that to put a bit of lubricant on that O-ring. Grab a bit of oil from in here. Put a bit of lubricant on that O-ring when you put it in, makes it a bit easier. There. There you go. So that's that done. Now this valve cover came pre-fitted with the gaskets as well, so you don't have to do anything, just whack the new gaskets for around the coil pack where the spark plugs go, the coil pack thingies. So
is that the technical term?
Yeah, just coil pack thingies. They're the coil packs for each plug, so we don't need to put any gaskets in there, they can fit. So this is what I replaced on that one when I thought it was the valve cover gasket that was leaking. But I'm hoping that, the crack's really hard to see, but I did actually see it weeping from above the gasket, so I'm hoping that that was the problem. Really can't be leaking anywhere else. I actually saw it coming from from a small hairline fracture just around that part there. All right, so now the easy part is putting it all back together. Now, generally I would go through and clean up all the surfaces, but I've already done it when I had the gasket off not long ago. Kind of sanded back all these surfaces. I might just give it a wipe down. Get a bit of a wet and dry and just go over all these areas that the old gasket was sort of sitting on, like a little bit of residue on there. You can sort of see it coming off. I've already cleaned these up, but just go through and clean up the gasket edge, just where so it seals. No, I've already done it. This is just,
yeah, but like if you were first time,
you might get it with a razor blade or a bit of wet and dry. Bit of a scraper maybe.
okay.
A bit of emery cloth, if you decide to use. But this one's pretty good, like I said, I cleaned it up. I cleaned it up only, it was less than an hour ago. I did this.
Hour?
An hour on the engine hour.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I did this first when I thought it was that gasket. pretty clean. New valve cover. Brand new. Fingers crossed that this is the problem. Probably not a bad idea once you got that out. Also just check a few things as well. Just check your cams and make sure there's no obvious issues with on your lobes. No bearing marks on any of the, or any wear marks on any of the lobes, and check that sort of stuff while you got it off. You can't do much with the chains on these, but there it is. This one all looks to be in pretty good nick, so we'll put it all back together and hope for the best. Fits, kind of. Like I said, I'd recommend just using, putting these in by hand at least. It's not hard to get them in, rather than use the impact driver. It's probably a sequence, like a good sequence to actually do these up in as well. Like you'd go on a bit of a crisscross or something so you don't get anything misaligned. I don't know the sequence, I'm not going to bother looking it up, so I'll just do it like I imagine it should be done. Now also you'd put some anti-seize on these bolts as well. I've already done it. Bit of anti-seize on those bolts. So the next time if you ever take it off again, or the next bloke who has to do a service or whatever, doesn't strip any bolts when he tries to get them out, or they're not seized in there. So just go through and put all these bolts back in loosely. A lot of bolts. Still going with the bolts.
Yeah.
So it's an easy job, don't need any real mechanical knowledge to be able to do it. Very easy. Actually, I still reckon working on outboards is way easier than working on cars, so I still don't understand why outboard mechanics charge what like they do. Like to do this on most vehicles will be a lot more tedious than this. I mean, look at it, it's right at the perfect height to do it all. You're not bending over. I reckon marine mechanics have got it easy. Just go around and make sure they're all in. All right, now we're going to do the torquing of it. Normally with a head gasket, you kind of go corners to corners inside use a sequence. But it's not as what's the word?
Critical?
Yeah, it's not as critical with just a valve cover, but these are only plastic, so you don't really want to crack another one. So I just start off at a corner and just torque it up a bit. And again, there's probably a specific torque setting for this, but I don't know what it is. So I'll just go by what I think it should be. Again, I'll just torque them up a bit at a time, get them all to about, just nip them up a bit, and then go around and apply the torque that I think it should be. What I also found with this is when it was warm and everything warmed up and the oil was a bit more viscous, it was a bit more fluid, a bit thinner, that's when it would leak the most. And then when you'd pull up and you'd have it sitting there and the oil would rest down into the bottom of the valve cover, it'd pull up around this area here, and that would where it would leak, right out the bottom where that crack was. Pretty easy to know, pretty easy to tell if it is that. You'll be able to see the oil just dripping from here. And there's not really too much else that it can really leak from, unless it's the gasket. I'll just go around now and nip these up to what I think it should be. Remember, if you're doing this and you want to do it properly, I'm a bit of an old school, but get the service manual, the repair manual, and go around, find out what the torque settings are, and do it as per the service manual. That would be my recommendation. I kind of know what it should be, roughly. We'll go with my feel of what torque it should be. Doesn't have to be overly tight, it's not holding anything, it's not holding the engine onto the boat, it's just got to be nipped up just so the gasket can make a seal. And I'm only using a fairly short 1/4 inch ratchet, so you're not going to get a lot of leverage on it anyway, so just a bit of a nip. So that's it. So now we go back and put the cool packs in.
Just slow down for a sec.
Now if you wanted to as well, you can go and put some dielectric grease up on here. That helps with stopping shorts and helping the spark. Will stop the spark from shorting out. But these are pretty good, and it's in the shed. I couldn't be bothered to get any. And it's been running all right, so I don't really need anything like that. Very easy to replace spark plugs and cool packs on these. I like to just put all the coil packs in first and then put the bolts in second. Just rest them in there, and then you can, it makes it a bit more efficient, I suppose, but not that it's a big job, so it wouldn't have really mattered. Again, nip these up. There's probably some torque setting, but not necessary for me in my book. I think I only ever used to use torque settings in my day for gearboxes and diffs and inside engines and heads and that sort of stuff. I didn't really use it for this sort of maintenance, general maintenance type activities. It's probably different these days, look, I don't know. Maybe it's different. All right, so now we'll go back and connect all the loom up. Connect the loom to each of the coil packs, 6 of them. On the 6-cylinder, 4-cylinder obviously has 4. That's for the sensor.
Sensor again, just some point.
Oh, that one there was for that sensor that we had out, that we replaced, took out of the original valve cover. And then we can just tidy it all up, put the loom away, loom into these little clips that we took off, tidy it all up. Oh, I think this is the hardest part, getting these clips undone. The whole job. There we go. So now we've just got to put that baffle, whatever it is, on the bottom. Baffle on the bottom, and then that crankcase vent at the top, and then that job is done. There's a little pipe under here. Just have to make sure that lines up with this. With that barb fitting on the bottom of this baffle of some description. Line that up, push it in. 2 8mm bolts.
Oh,
I got it. Just there. Might be easier to. I'll do it this way. I'll get it there. Finally, we get this clip back on. Okay. So this clip that we took off from the vent at the top, and then slip that onto there like that. And then we get the pliers and just put that back on. This is a weird clip. So we'll just try this, getting the clip into the right position first. It's got these 3 little little things you have to sit it in. So that's not quite right. One more over. Yeah, so that's it there. You can sort of see it's in there in position now. And then slip that on, hopefully it goes on. If not, you might put a bit of lubricant on it. Just a bit of oil. Put a bit of oil on that so it goes on a bit easier. Maybe a bit of grease. Actually, I'll get some from here. Someone who was a bit more organised would get some grease from somewhere or oil, but I don't have any. No, I'd have to go all the way to the garage, and I'm lazy. There we go, should be enough. Bit of oil on there to help that go back on. That's it there. So back on, clips on. That is the job done. Last thing we have to do is just going to top up the oil. I'd suggest using the same oil that you put in. This is fully synthetic, so use fully synthetic oil. Similar viscosity if you can. I'm only going to top up about half a litre, so it's not much. We lost a bit from the leak, and from when I pulled the valve cover off the first time, there was a lot pulled up under there, and I kind of lost about, I think I lost about 300 or 400 mil. I have no idea what that is in quarts, but it lost a bit. Last but not least is put the oil cap back on, oil filler cap. Top here. Done. We'll start it up once it's not so early, and run it for 10 or 15 minutes and see if we fix the leak. And degrease it, yeah, just wax the degrees. Degrees down here where the oil was running, because I had it tilted up, it's been running down to the bottom of the pan there. So I'm just going to get some degrees and degrease that, degrease the bottom of the back of the midsection here. Let's get some degreaser and just wax some degreaser in here, back here.
What is back here?
Back of the midsection where the oil's run down. Just spray the oil in, spray the degreaser in. And I'll actually tilt up a bit. Yeah, don't have much left in this can, so I'll just use it all up and then let it sit for a bit and then hose it off. That's it. Done. Wasn't much left. That way we can clean off whatever oil's left in there, residue oil, and then we can run it and just to make sure there's no more leaks when we do start it up a bit later on. Just tilt it up, get rid of all that. I'll let that sit there for drain all the water out. Just ran it for 10 minutes, get it up to temperature, check for oil leaks. Normally by now, I would have a pool of oil running down here and pulling up in here. She's dry. But I'll leave it overnight. By now the oil will run down here, it'll settle in there, and we'll see in the morning. When I first bought it, the bloke told me that he would pour oil into here, the midsection, just in case water got in to stop it from going rusty. Didn't say much, I didn't think much of it because it was kind of like a bit weird because it's not something I would do. I didn't think anything of it. So when I got home, I noticed a bit of oil in here, which I figured was him just putting it in there for some reason. I cleaned it all out with degreaser because it's not good for all your gaskets and whatever else in there, and also the environment, I guess. Not that I'm a greenie, but it's not really good for your environment. So I cleaned it all out, and I noticed every time I'd run it for a little bit, there was always a bit of oil coming out of here. So I cleaned it out again, and I was running it and watching it, and you could notice the oil pooling just under here. in hindsight, the reason why there was oil in there wasn't because he put it in there. I'm assuming it was because it's had an oil leak for a while, and he was just trying to, I don't know, who knows what he was trying to do. But anyway, it's $530 for a new one, Australian, so it wasn't too bad. So hopefully that might help anybody else out who has a similar issue with the Verado. Any questions or whatever, just hit us up and we'll try and answer it for you. But it's, yeah, as you can see, it's pretty straightforward and you'll really notice the oil leak. So anyway, any questions, hit us up. Hooroo.